Hey everyone! Today, we're going to talk about the Bosporan Kingdom, an amazing ancient place, where Greek culture mixed with the traditions of nomadic tribes like the Scythians. This kingdom was located in what is now eastern Crimea and the Taman Peninsula, near the Kerch Strait, which used to be called the Cimmerian Bosporus. The Bosporan Kingdom is often called the first true Hellenistic state. It wasn't just a Greek colony, it was a melting pot of different cultures that adopted Greek language and customs. The rulers, especially those from the Spartocid dynasty, were smart in how they led. To the Greeks, they acted like local leaders called archons, but to non-Greeks, they ruled as kings. This flexible leadership helped them succeed for a long time. One of the coolest things about the Bosporan Kingdom is how long it lasted as a Roman ally. In the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, the kingdom enjoyed a golden age, becoming very rich and influential. At one point, Emperor Nero even brought it under Roman rule for a few years, but it later returned to being a client kingdom. By the late 2nd century AD, King Sarmatians II defeated the Scythians and united the entire Crimean peninsula under his control. The kingdom's strong economy was key to its success. It thrived on trading wheat, fish, and slaves, becoming a major economic hub for the Black Sea region. This earned it the nickname, the Ancient Jewel of the Black Sea. Wealthy people in the kingdom lived in luxury, and archaeologists have found amazing treasures in their burial mounds, called kurgans. These include gold jewelry, decorated vases, and everyday items, many of which are now in the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. The kingdom's origins go back to early Greek colonies. Cities like Panticapaeum, now modern Kerch, Phanagoria, and Nymphaeum were founded by Greek settlers from Miletus in the 7th and 6th centuries BC. These cities became important trade and cultural centers. For instance, Phanagoria was founded around 540 BC by settlers from Teos, and Nymphaeum even joined the Athenian-led Delian League in the 5th century BC. Geographically, the Bosporan Kingdom was in a great spot for trade and culture. The Kerch Strait connected the Black Sea to the Sea of Azov, making it a key trade route. To the south, the Black Sea linked the kingdom to places like Greece and Asia Minor. To the north were the wide grassy plains of the steppe, perfect for nomads. The southeastern coast of Crimea had tall mountains, while the Taman Peninsula bordered the towering Caucasus Mountains. The kingdom's interactions with neighboring cultures shaped its economy and politics. Early Greek settlers sometimes fought with groups like the Thracians and Scythians. By the 5th century BC, the Scythians were a powerful force in the region, often influencing or controlling Greek cities. This may have helped the Achaemenid dynasty form the first Bosporan state around 480 BC. Later, the Spartocid dynasty brought the kingdom to its peak, leading to economic growth. Before this growth, the Greek colonies mainly traded slaves, furs, and fish. Grain didn't become a big export until the Peloponnesian War, when Athens needed more food. The Spartocids took advantage of this by controlling cities like Nymphaeum and trading grain to Athens for silver and other goods, making them even stronger. The Bosporan Kingdom's military was also a mix of cultures. Under the Spartocid kings, the army included Greeks, Scythians, and other local groups. During a civil war between Cyrus II and his brother Miletus, there are records of an army with 2,000 Greek soldiers, 2,000 Thracian mercenaries, and tens of thousands of Scythian cavalry and infantry. This mix of forces shows how the Bosporan Kingdom united different cultures in every part of its society. And remember how we talked about the Spartocid dynasty ruling the Bosporan Kingdom for a long time. These rulers were really smart about keeping control of their kingdom. They knew how to balance the different cultures in their region. To the Greeks, they acted as local leaders called archons, but to the local tribes like the Sindi and Maote, they were seen as kings. This way they kept everyone happy, or at least not too upset. The early Spartocid kings, like Satyrus and Leucon, were great at expanding their power. For example, Leucon took over a city called Theodosia, which had a port that didn't freeze in winter. This was a big deal because it meant they could trade grain all year round. Athens, a major Greek city, relied heavily on this grain, especially during the Peloponnesian War. Athens even gave Leucon and his family Athenian citizenship to thank them. That's like being made honorary citizens of one of the most important cities of the time. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. After King Parasides died, his sons, Satyrus and Eumelus, fought over who would take the throne. Satyrus won a big battle at first, but then he died, and Eumelus ended up ruling. These kinds of family fights were pretty common in kingdoms back then because everyone wanted to be in charge. Then there was Mithridates I, a king from another region called Pontus. 30s. After losing to the Romans, he ran away to the Bosporan Kingdom to try and build up another army. But his own son, Pharnaces, betrayed him, and Mithridates ended up taking his own life. This was a turning point because it gave Rome more control over the area. After that, the Bosporan Kingdom became a client state of Rome. This means they were still technically independent, but they had to follow Rome's rules. A king named Aspergus came to power around this time. He adopted Roman customs and even took the name Tiberius Julius to show loyalty to the Roman emperors Augustus and Tiberius. From then on, every Bosporan king used Roman-style names mixed with local ones, showing how they were trying to fit into both worlds. The Bosporan Kingdom stayed important because of its location. It controlled the Kerch Strait, a narrow passage between the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. This made it a perfect spot for trade and military strategies. But being in such a key spot also made it a target. By the 3rd and 4th centuries AD, migrating tribes like the Goths and Boraeni started attacking the region. These invasions caused a lot of problems for the kingdom. Even with all these challenges, the Bosporan Kingdom managed to survive for a long time by adapting to changes. Whether they were working with Athens, Rome, or local tribes, they found ways to keep going. But eventually, the constant attacks and changes in the region made it harder for the kingdom to stay strong. And now let's go over what happened to the Bosporan Kingdom after the reign of Rhyscuporus I, the last ruler whose coins we can trace to 341 AD. For years, people thought the kingdom was destroyed by the Goths and Huns during his time, but the truth is more complicated. There isn't any strong proof of a sudden collapse. In fact, there are signs the economy in the region was actually doing well during this period. One interesting clue comes from an inscription dated around 483 AD. It mentions a Bosporan ruler named Duptunos, which shows that the line of kings didn't just vanish in the 4th century as previously assumed. Instead, a Sarmatian or Alan tribal leader might have taken over, starting a new dynasty. By around 380 AD, the Goths were in charge of Crimea, as mentioned in a letter from 404 AD, that refers to a king of the Goths ruling the area. During this time, the Bosporan Kingdom became a vassal to the Hunnic Empire, but regained its independence when the Huns' power fell apart in the mid-5th century. Still, the Goths held on to the region for a while. The Byzantine historian Procopius wrote about how the Goths worked with and fought against other groups like the Utigores. Despite all these invasions and changes in leadership, the Bosporan Kingdom held on to a lot of its Greek-inspired culture. Its language, traditions, and architecture blended ancient Greek influences with new ideas from the invading groups. This mix made their culture surprisingly strong, even under all the pressure from outside forces. By the late 5th century, the Goths either left or were pushed out, allowing local rulers like Duptunos to briefly bring back self-rule. These leaders began aligning with the Byzantine Empire, and we see evidence of this in the Byzantine coins found in the area, especially ones from Emperors Justin I and Justinian I. But this period of peace didn't last long. During Justinian's reign, a Hunnic leader named Gordus took control of the region. Gordus had good relations with the Byzantine Empire, but his rule ended in a revolt in 527 AD. After that, Byzantine forces stepped in and took control of the Bosporan lands. Under Byzantine and later Bulgarian rule, the Bosporan cities saw some improvement. The ancient Greek city of Phanagoria became the capital of Old Great Bulgaria in the 7th century, and the town of Tmutarakan became an important center for the Kievan Rus in the 10th and 11th centuries. Over time, these areas came under Tatar rule, but the impact of the Bosporan Kingdom's history was still felt. Even during these later times, the region stayed connected to its ancient past. Byzantine officials sometimes took control of the area, as shown by an 11th century seal, mentioning the Cimmerian Bosporur. By the 12th century, the Byzantine Empire once again tried to assert its power over this important region. The kingdom's coins also tell us a lot about its rulers. Coins from as early as the 5th century BC, especially those from Panticapaeum, show incredible craftsmanship. Some gold coins even feature Pan's head and a griffin. Later coins from the Spartocid and other dynasties reveal a decline in quality and material, moving from gold to silver and finally to bronze. These coins provide a lasting record of the Bosporan Kingdom's long and eventful history.